Hello, North Carolina students. In today's podcast, we will discuss an overview of what college is like, and we'll also discuss important things to consider when thinking about your options and future plans. My name is Brittany Privott. I'm an Associate Outreach Director for CFNC down in Southeastern North Carolina, and I am the host for the CFNC podcast, Get Graduation Ready. Joining me today is Neftali Cabrales-Fick. She is an outreach manager for the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority, the state agency that helps North Carolina students plan and pay for college. Welcome, Neftali.
Thank you, Brittany. I'm so excited to be here with you today to talk about college and give our students some helpful tips to consider and some information so that they can make their plans.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you join me because we come from different generations and we're in college at different times and have different experiences. So it'll be fun to kind of talk about different types of colleges and make sure that our students and our listeners understand kind of what's out there and how to best plan for their next step. So we do have a lot of questions in our question bank about different types of colleges and different ways to kind of achieve their career goals. And so I wanted to kind of talk to you about the differences and types of colleges and learn a little bit about your experience. One of the big questions that we get a lot, either on the road or in our inboxes, is what's the difference between a community college and a four-year institution? Do you kind of want to explain that, Neftali?
Sure. I actually went to both community college and a four-year institution. I was a transfer student. So I attended community college for my first 2 years, and I really used that time to take some of my more general education requirement courses, my algebra, taking my biology, things like that. And then when I transferred to the four-year institution, I took my major specific classes. So I majored in journalism. So I took things like reporting, how to use data with your reporting and things like that. Photography, that was a really fun class, and it was part of my journalism major too, but those were the type of classes that I took. So when thinking of community college and thinking of 4 years, one of the big differences is the type of degree that you can get in them, right? So at community college, typically you'll get an associate's degree once you finish your 2 years. A 4-year, you'll be getting your bachelor's degree. But Brittany, I know you have a lot of experience, and this is a question that you've gotten often. So usually, how do you describe the differences to students?
Definitely. It's cool to know that you're a transfer student because that's definitely a great option for a lot of North Carolina students. We have 111 colleges and universities in the state. And the cool thing about that is students have so many different choices on the path they take, where they start, where they end up, and all that fun stuff. But when it comes down to it, the major difference between a community college and a four-year institution is the type of degree you can get. So like you said, community colleges offer associate's degrees traditionally. But one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is when we're talking about the trades, community colleges also house trade opportunities as well. So if you want to go into something along the lines of HVAC or something like mechanics, either auto mechanics, diesel mechanics. We have community colleges in North Carolina, like Craven Community College, that even has aerospace mechanics where you work on airplanes. So they host a variety of different opportunities, not necessarily just associate's degrees, but you can get certifications. You can take community classes where you learn a skill like sewing or learning a foreign language. There's so many different things that you can do at the community college level. At the four-year level, typically those institutions offer bachelor's degrees and up, depending on the institution. So associate's degrees traditionally take about 2 years. You can take longer or shorter if you'd like, depending on your program. But after an associate's degree, students can get a bachelor's degree. So I was the type of student, I went directly into a university right after high school. So I received a bachelor's degree, which is a 4-year degree, and it took me 4 years. But I have some friends it took them 3 years because of classes they took in high school, and some friends that extended their experience through around 6 years. So it really depends on how often you take your classes, how many classes you want to take in a semester. After a bachelor's degree, students can go on to get a master's degree, which takes about 2 extra years after your bachelor's, or a doctorate degree. That being said, it is totally up to the student and what they want to do when it comes to what path they take with college. You don't have to get a doctorate degree if you don't want to. You don't have to get an associate's degree if you don't want to, but there's lots of options out there. But because there's so many options, we have CFNC.org to help students and families kind of figure this out. So when it comes to your experience, Naftali, how did you find out what path to take and what made you kind of end up choosing to go through the transfer route?
Yes. So when I was in high school, I was just like really, really, really hoping I got into one specific institution, and that was the only institution that I wanted to go to. So I ended up being waitlisted from that institution. So it wasn't a rejection. They didn't say no, but they also didn't say yes, come on over. So while I was waiting for their decision, some of my high school teachers were like encouraging me to apply to my local community college. They had a honors program that was specific for students that wanted to be able to transfer. So they offered more help. And so in waiting for my decision, I said, you know what, I'm going to apply to this community college program and see what happens. And I did get accepted into it. And then as I learned more about how they work with students and prepare them for a 4-year institution, I really liked the fact that it would have that support. I wasn't ready to move out of state at the time, so a 4-year kind of scared me a little bit. So I ended up going with the community college with the intent of then transferring over and making the most of those additional supports that they had for students.
That's awesome. And thanks for sharing, because I think a lot of people have that misconception that community college is for students who didn't make the grades to get into a 4-year school, or community college is for students who never want to leave home. But there's so many reasons why students end up taking classes at their local community college. Maybe they are waiting on that answer coming from the 4-year school that they'd like to go to. Maybe they don't know what they want to be when they grow up, which I think is a lot of people. I'm in my mid-30s and I have no idea what the end looks like, but there's lots of reasons to take advantage of your local community college and take that transfer route. Now, one thing I think is a big benefit is, yes, transferring, but I'm going to take a shot in the dark here, Naftali, and assume that you have a lot less debt than I do when it comes to what that bill looks like after graduation, because you attended a local community college. Do you feel like you were able to save money by taking advantage of your local community college?
Absolutely, yes. So my community college, they actually had specific scholarships that I was able to qualify for. So that was great. And, in combination with the federal Pell Grant that I was eligible to receive as well, that made it super affordable for me. And then with my 4-year institution, since I had already knocked out off those 2 years, the bill was a lot less there, and I was able to find some scholarships as well. I found that in my transfer process, I did apply to several. I didn't just apply to one in my transfer process. I found that there are some institutions that have transfer specific scholarships. So that's also one way to make those 4-year institutions affordable as well if you're choosing that transfer route.
You are knocking down so many myths that people have about community colleges. And I think one of them is that there aren't a lot of scholarships for transfer students. And that is not the case. There is money out there for transfer students, even after they've saved so much money going to a 2-year institution. Now, let's say I'm a high school student or an adult learner who wants to go to college, but doesn't know where to start. I think one main question I encourage people to think about, and you may be on the same page with this, is why go to college? Why choose a community college over a 4-year school? Why even take the steps to get a post-secondary education. Do you have any ideas or tips for people who are trying to figure out if college is for them at all?
Yeah, so it depends on how they see themselves in the future, right? I know it's scary to make such big life decisions at an early age. You feel like you're super committed and then you have to see it through, and it's scary to choose the wrong thing potentially. But I do, doubt that I have a couple of years under my belt after undergrad. I do want to provide students some relief and some peace of mind in knowing that you'll find your place. I mentioned I majored in journalism. Currently, I am not in journalism, right? I'm doing college access outreach. That's my work. But I learned skills that I still use. One of the examples is this podcast, right? You learn some of those public speaking type skills, media, those kind of things in journalism. So although I'm not in that field, I still use a lot of the skills that I learned with that degree. And that's the reason why I'm able to find these other opportunities. So I want to give students that peace of mind of, even if you don't end up having the career that you studied, you will still use those skills most likely in whatever career you decide to pivot to. But in thinking of what your future looks like, that's one of the main considerations to take on whether you should go to college or not, right? I did want to throw out there some resources for students that aren't sure. So, if they visit nccareers.org, they're going to be able to get assessments that help them find their interests so that they can see if they have something that leads to a career that needs a college degree, right? They'll be able to find that. They also have a tool that I really love, which is Reality Check, that allows you to see, based on your goals, your type of lifestyle that you want to live, how much should you be earning to be able to make that dream a reality, right? That lifestyle a reality.
Yeah.
And it really then even takes it a step further to show you careers that could pay you that much money so that you can make that future lifestyle a reality for yourself. So that's something I would ask students to consider is, what do you want your future to look like? And then take advantage of some of these assessments so that you can see if college is a fit for you.
Yes, the reality check is by far one of my favorite activities on NC Careers. I do it with students all the time, just so they can start thinking about, like you said, what kind of future do you want for yourself? And let's figure out how to achieve that future. I like to say that college is an investment in your future. So, what do you need to do to get to where you want to be? So, after doing the reality check and seeing how much the lifestyle you want to live is going to cost you, it's nice to see different careers that will support that lifestyle. And the cool thing about NC Careers is it shows you what type of education you need to achieve those goals. So, for some of us, we want to live a very simple life. If that's the case, you can do the reality check and figure out how much that's going to cost you in that specific area, and then see what careers will support that lifestyle. Some of us want to, as the kids when I was in high school used to say, like, ball out of control and like have all the money in the world, and really live the high life. And so we like to say the more you learn, the more you earn. So a lot of times those students will go and get a professional degree so that they can live that lifestyle. But it all really depends on what lifestyle you want to live and what you want to do. So for example, I knew I wanted to work in education. So I knew I needed to have at least a bachelor's degree. I didn't know in high school that there was a whole college access field that I could work in and help students figure out what they want to do. My mom was a teacher. Two of my brothers are teachers. My dad was a PE teacher right out of college. So I just thought I was going to be either a teacher or I was going to work in retail. But by the time I got to college and took classes, I got a better understanding of what's out there. I really didn't know what I didn't know in high school. So college is a great way to kind of develop yourself. But if your desired job or lifestyle doesn't require that you get a master's degree, then that's okay too. So it's totally up to you on kind of what you do. And NC Careers is a great place to start. Once you figure out what the career that you're looking for is going to require, go ahead and check out CFNC, and we can help you figure out kind of what colleges are out there, what majors they have, how much they cost. and also different transfer programs like Naftali experienced to help them kind of plan out what their path looks like. There is no magical path to get to the future that you want, but we're here to help and make sure that you have the kind of knowledge that you need to get to where you want to go. So that's why I love the reality check, because everybody's answers are different. I love doing it in classrooms because students will say, oh my gosh, I want 5 kids and I want a mansion on the water in Wilmington. And then they see how much that costs and they're like, well, maybe I don't have to live on the water. Or maybe I want 3 kids instead of 5 kids. Or I have students that are like, gosh, I had no idea my parents go through so much. So it's just nice to kind of have activities and assessments to get a better understanding of what's out there so that you can kind of figure out what college path is best for you. So we've talked about different types of colleges and why go to college, and different resources like CFNC and NC Careers. Naftali, do you know of any other resources that students can use to figure out if college is for them and kind of get this process started on finding a good fit for themselves?
Yes, Brittany. So I did have one more resource I wanted to highlight for students, and that is College Scorecard. So this website is going to allow students to check out what institutions they're interested in, and they're going to be able to see things like graduation rates for that school, the amount of debt that students take out to pay for their degree. And they're also going to be able to see how are students doing in paying back those loans, which I think that's really important when weighing your choices. And the website for that is collegescorecard.ed.gov.
Awesome. Thank you. And I love that all of the resources that we've talked about today are free resources. Again, college is an investment. So I love the fact that there are ways for students to figure out what schools are going to be the best investment when it comes to money for them too. So thank you so much for sharing that. So we will have some episodes coming up where we'll have a little more fun talking about different opportunities at the college level. The next episode, we're going to talk more about majors and choosing the best major for you. Then we're going to have a little fun with some trivia on that one. I'm really looking forward to talking more with you, Naftali. But for students who want to take that first step, we highly recommend going to cfnc.org, checking out the college search. Like I said, we have 111 colleges and universities in the state, and I do this for a living. I love North Carolina colleges and universities, but I am not trying to research 111 colleges. So we have great filters on the college search to help you narrow down what colleges are going to be a good fit for you based on criteria that are important to you, like size, major, location. So we really encourage you to check out that college search, save institutions that you like to your CFNC dashboard so that you can apply to them later. I want to thank our amazing guests today for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you again next week, Naftali.
Thank you for having me, Brittany. It has been a wonderful opportunity, and I hope that students take that first step, visit cfnc.org, and check out the colleges that North Carolina has.
All right. Once again, my name is Brittany Privott. I'm an Associate Outreach Director with CFNC, and we really appreciate you joining us for this episode of the podcast, Get Graduation Ready.